please?
For which movie?
No, I've been getting a lot of questions about, like, how do I feel? I feel amazing.
She's just not stable.
I never want it to come off as me being ungrateful for the opportunities I have.
So yeah, my agent would have punched me in the face if I was up there saying some stupid what an investment.
Okay, it's great. I'm honored. I don't know why I sound so angry right now. I'm honored. Am I a psychopath?
The live-action Snow White reboot became an enduring migraine for the Walt Disney Company, spawning wave after wave of bad publicity that refused to fade even months after the curtains fell. Studio chief Bob Iger and his lieutenants spent what felt like an eternity firefighting controversies set ablaze by the film's lead, Rachel Zegler, whose every media appearance seemed to pour gasoline on an already smoldering debate. Disney reportedly yanked certain press stops in hopes of cooling things down, yet many lifelong fans kept accusing Zegler of belittling the authentic nostalgia tied to the 1937 masterpiece.
Our primary purpose is to entertain, and where we can entertain responsibly, obviously we try to do that. We try to have a positive impact on the world, but the first thing we need to do is entertain.
At the heart of the quarrel lay a rewritten backstory. Instead of being named for skin as white as snow, this 2025 version claimed Snow White earned her name after surviving a deadly blizzard. Admirers of the original cried foul, insisting that such a swap stripped the heroine of an essential trait. Zegler, undeterred, argued that vintage fairy tale logic no longer resonated with modern viewers.
There was an in-depth piece, like a behind-the-scenes piece, talking about how they've been in a full meltdown about this girl for a couple of years now.
Critics fired back that the timeless charm of Walt Disney's first animated feature was precisely what had made it groundbreaking. Tensions spiked further when Zegler labeled detractors as clinging to outdated ideals, provoking boycott calls across social media. All the while, whispers of friction with co-star Gal Gadot slipped through studio gates. Though insiders stayed cagey, rumors suggested on-set disagreements forced late reshoots that nudged the premiere into late 2025 and squeezed an already frantic post-production calendar.
It's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White.
That
is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Creative choices drew their own crossfire. Some applauded the movie's emphasis on diversity and representation, cheering Disney for embracing contemporary sensibilities. Others blasted what they saw as a wholesale rewrite that drifted far beyond the soul of the classic tale. Iger hinted, ever so carefully, that Disney might rethink its strategy after a bruising run through 2024 and 2025. Yet the studio plowed ahead, treating Snow White as a litmus test for just how radically it could re-engineer treasured intellectual property.
It just takes a beloved movie and makes it much more boring and much less realistic. The movie is really, really bad.
Early test screenings delivered whiplash feedback. A handful praised the fresh social themes, while plenty more called the tone confused, even contradictory. Script doctors and second unit crews rushed in, yet the schedule remained razor thin and the odds of narrative whiplash alarmingly high. Zegler doubled down, declaring that sweeping revisions were vital to keep the story alive for a 21st century crowd.
Our rights are on the line, folks.
The right to buy Cosby sweaters?
Come on.
That's the face of a serial killer.
And if you disagree with the sentiment, just hit the unfollow button.
Her critics countered that she overlooked subtler ways to modernize without trampling 4 generations of goodwill. Meanwhile, the alleged Zegler-Gadot rift threatened to eclipse marketing gains Gadot's star wattage might have delivered. Commentators warned that any real discord could bleed onto the screen, further inflating costs and sabotaging chemistry. To longtime Disney devotees, the film's drama felt unprecedented.
She is crapping on the original production. I was scared of it. Oh, it was so weird. It was a stalker. Like, I feel like if you are taking on the most iconic Disney role ever, genuinely, like this was the most prolific Disney film, I feel like you should kind of have some sort of reverence.
Earlier remakes had survived mild grumbling, but this one triggered a cultural pressure cooker. Traditionalists worried the studio had swapped out Walt's enchantment for overt messaging, while progressive voices insisted beloved stories must evolve or stagnate. Box office forecasters waited to see whether Snow White would validate Disney's radical direction or send executives retreating towards safer, more faithful retellings.
But the primary suffering is being sent in by my company to watch a children's movie as a single man, like 2 p.m. on a Thursday. That was the first part that was a little bit weird, but I was basically the only person in the theater.
Despite reshoots meant to clarify the plot, viewers disagreed sharply on whether the final product hit the mark. Zegler's unwavering defense of the overhaul won applause from audiences craving inclusive narratives, yet alienated many who cherished the original's simplicity. Even after the theatrical run, the movie served as shorthand for Hollywood's broader clash over adaptation, nostalgia, and identity politics.
You don't particularly see people who, look like me or are me playing roles like that. So it was definitely, when it got announced,
White! He wasn't a stalker, by the way.
Thing that was like trending on Twitter for days because all of the people were angry.
Godot, initially heralded as marketing gold, could not fully counteract the cyclone of negative chatter. Speculation about her working dynamic with Zegler lingered, with critics pointing to scenes they claimed felt oddly disjointed, possible echoes of real-life tension. By the time the movie landed in cinemas, Disney's publicity team faced a perfect storm: boycott hashtags, leaked set gossip, and skeptics who assumed the company had lost faith in its own roots. Nevertheless, executives decided another release delay would only fuel fresh rumors and rolled the dice on a late-year debut.
This path that I'm taking right now is the path that Rachel Zegler should have taken instead of just running her mouth for the last 3 years.
The broader conversation crystallized around whether Disney had compromised Snow White's beating heart. Generations adored the original's innocence, and the reboot's complex character arc plus overt social commentary seemed, to some, like varnish over a once pristine surface. On the flip side, advocates argued that continual reinvention is storytelling's lifeblood, reminding doubters that even Walt's version had sanitized the Brothers Grimm source.
God forbid a woman dream about true love. We're all just sitting around here, maybe I could be president one day. I hate men, I just want to be president. That screams Disney princess. Oh my God, I'm literally getting enraged. Once again, I feel like I'm back in 2022.
The question then was never about change itself, but about scale and intent. Had Disney changed just enough, or far too much? Throughout the marketing blitz, Zegler framed dissenters as resistant to progress, while her supporters hailed her candor. Opponents, meanwhile, perceived condescension and rallied, under the banner of protecting childhood memories. Opening weekend grosses mirrored that split. Strong in certain urban centers, listless in markets where nostalgia reigned supreme.
Yeah, the entire film's about a love story. It's about a love story because that's what the point of the film is, and I'm sorry that chivalry in a man pursuing you is now deemed as stalking, which now it's kind of making sense why men are opting out of the dating scene.
Iger, flanked by finance analysts, insisted the company had weathered typical Hollywood hiccups. Rewrites, reshoots, rumor mills. But the ferocity of public scrutiny said otherwise. Looking back, Snow White became a pivotal case study in modern franchising. Had it soared, Disney might have marched full speed into even bolder reimaginings. Instead, its mixed reception left leadership weighing the balance between innovation and reverence. Historically, Snow White holds mythic significance. Released in 1937, it ushered feature-length animation into the mainstream. To tinker with that legacy magnified every misstep. Zegler's fierce advocacy could have recast her as a visionary had the gamble paid off. Instead, critics painted her as emblematic of Hollywood's bravado. Yet others celebrated her willingness to push boundaries, arguing that the intense reaction itself proved the necessity of fearless updates.
I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again. I watched it for the first time in probably 17 years.
Ultimately, the film carved out a permanent niche as one of Disney's most debated remakes, exemplifying the high stakes of altering cultural landmarks while an audience watches and tweets in real time. Even now, the heated discourse over whether the new Snow White bridged or widened the divide between nostalgia and novelty continues. A testament to how deeply society invests in the stories it grows up with and how fiercely it argues over their evolution.
In what world was any of this approved?